Face with MJ and Dolph. Let's go! Hey everybody, and welcome back to Game Face with MJ and Dolph. As always, I am MJ, that is Dolph. We're happy to be on with you guys. Dolph, how you doing, bud?
I'm good, man, but I'm a little disappointed. I said, you gonna bring it? You're like, I'm gonna bring it. Then you're like, hi, welcome to Game Face. My name is.
Oh no,
man. Where's the energy?
But you see, it was something a little bit different because I am definitely bringing it. This is my nice little prize. Authentic, definitely a prize to behold.
That's
certificate of authenticity, the whole nine.
Nice.
You know, because I will be using this somewhere very soon. Because your boy's going to the Royal Rumble here in St. Pete. And he's gonna have a good time taking the belt with him. One of my best friends is going with me too, and we're gonna go and enjoy it. His daughters are going too, so it's gonna be a lot of fun.
See, I've never been to a live WWE event or WWF or whatever. I've been to the ones that they do over at Universal. It's like
that was WCW back in the day.
It was WCW
or Impact.
Impact. It was Impact. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Dude, amazing fun to go to a live Impact over there. Like, and I know that it's nothing compared to electricity. That is a whole dome full of screaming fans for like those events. So yeah, I understand. Like, they were pulling people out of Universal and Islands of Adventure and City Walk to try to fill the little section of bleachers that they made us all sit into because we had to be nuts to butts tighten it up.
Because for those of you that don't know, when Universal was doing those, they were doing them in the same theater where the Blue Man Group performed. So it's not a huge theater, but it's it's a fledgling company. Impact now is turning back into TNA, which is what they used to be, Total Nonstop Action Wrestling. Merger or something. Doesn't really matter. But yeah, it was tough for them to fill some of those seats. I have been to Raw. I've been to SmackDown. But this will be my first premium live event, so a pay-per-view. This is the first time that I'll be going to one of those, so I'm a little geeked up about it. I've gotten back into wrestling, honestly, within the last year and a half, 2 years again. So it's been a lot of fun. But I went a long stretch without watching. It's going to be at the Trop, so Tropicana Stadium where the Rays play. That's where they're going to be having it.
Tropicana Stadium, and where are you sitting?
At Tropicana Field, excuse me.
I got you.
Yeah.
And where are you sitting?
Oh, I don't remember the ticket numbers right now off the top of my head.
I was just trying to see what area, what section is, like upper bowl, lower bowl, that kind of stuff.
I think we're in the lower bowl, if I'm right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what's up. I think they're probably going to have floor seats too there.
Yeah, I mean it's a weird setup though because of the outfield and all of that, but WrestleMania is the bucket list item for pretty much everybody that's a wrestling fan.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
But the Royal Rumble is just so much fun because you never know what's going to happen. There's always surprise guests. There's always somebody that comes out that shouldn't be showing up, or somebody that you're like, holy cow, this person's back. So that'll be a lot of fun to be able to share with a good friend and really be able to enjoy the show.
So I think it was Royal Rumble that I was watching a video the other day, and it was about when Vince McMahon tore both of his thighs or something like that.
I think that was Hunter, because Hunter's torn his quad twice.
No, it was Vince McMahon. I know who this guy is. Like, he's the leader of WWF, like WWE, whatever. He ran out to go and get into a match with God. Who? Okay, listen, I'm not going to this.
Oh, that's back in the day, though. If he was getting into a match, yeah.
McMahon tore quads, yeah. Yeah, he tore his quads. And I was watching this interview.
It's awesome how our show does live research.
I mean, we weren't going to talk about this. Come on, man.
No, we weren't.
Yeah. McMahon came to the ring and began beating down The Miz. Yeah, and he landed on his leg and tore both of his quads.
You see, that's the thing, is that when Miz was champion, I wasn't really watching at that time.
Yeah, no, I didn't either. Like, this was a long time ago. Like, I had no idea about this, but I was watching a video about it, and it was so crazy that this guy was so hardcore about his image that he tore both of his quads, collapsed on the mat, and was
Mm-hmm.
still talking trash to everybody in there about, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. They had to restart the match because what happened was it ended up being a tie in the Royal Rumble. They both got out and both hit the floor at the same time. And they were sitting there trying to figure out who did. And he's like, no, you're going to re-wrestle it. But when he came out, he ran in and jumped into the ring and tore both those quads.
Wow. Okay.
Right?
That story
That
I didn't
is,
even know. Man.
dude, that guy's hardcore.
Well, I mean, if you saw him, Vince, especially during
He
that
must be
time.
jacked. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Vince was jacked up. I mean, obviously there were some needles going on, but you know,
There's needles in all those guys. They're not.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say they're not athletes because they are. It's not fake because everything they're doing is real. It is scripted, which
it's
I don't
choreographed.
care.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is entertainment. It's choreographed. It's made for that. These guys, if you look at the career trajectory of a UCF fighter versus a WWE wrestler, there's no way that a wrestler could take the damage and impact that the UFC fighter does as many times they fight per year.
Well,
And
remember
as many matches as they do and how long the matches are. Think about it's crazy for them to do the 5-15 or the 5-5s, right? Is it the UFC
mm-hmm. For the title matches?
Like they train for a year to be able to fight that long with breaks in between.
Mm-hmm.
That's 25 minutes. I've watched wrestling matches that were 25 minutes straight.
Yeah.
So to think about the differences in them both, like they can't. They are athletes and they are amazing. And dude, I was a huge fan growing up. If you can't hear my passion in my voice, you can tell.
I hear it. I didn't expect it, but I hear it,
man. When it was what it was back in the day, I really enjoyed watching it. I remember, I want to say it was like 2001. I was living in a little town in Georgia, and with my ex-wife, and we were there, and we got the pay-per-view, and all of our friends were there. We had like 15, 20 people in our house. Like that was the kind of atmosphere. It was cool, and I don't have that anymore because I don't have people like that. I don't know people. I don't like people like that anymore to be in my house, especially. But at the time, it was really cool, a lot of fun. Like I think that we would have fun if we lived close enough watching some of these things because I still enjoy watching it. I just don't do it alone.
Yeah, for the people that haven't watched it, because I'm assuming there's some of those that are watching the show right now. That was kind of the golden age. You know, you had Stone Cold, you had The Rock, you had big names like that were really dominating the scene. But it's kind of going through.
We're still wrestling too.
Yeah, but right now, The Undertaker, guys like that.
Yeah.
But right now, it's going through a resurgence, and so a lot of people are calling this a second golden age. It's that good right now. You know, if you are watching, you know, enjoy the show. You know, it's a good thing for people to say, "Oh, wrestling is fake. Why would I watch that?" Well, you watch action movies, and those are scripted also, and you enjoy them. Yeah. So if you just take it for entertainment and, you know, enjoyment, that's exactly what it is. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Mute the interviews.
So that's
if you don't like all
that's
that,
my pushback.
If you don't like the drama that goes with it, mute the interviews. Mute when they're doing the skits in between and stuff. That's fine. Like those are fine. If you just want to see some amazing agility and strength feats, you're going to see it on that show. Like it's just what it is.
And that's the whole thing too, is that the interviews have gotten far better than they used to be.
Really?
Because they've hired people to make sure that that's part of what it is. It's not like back when we were kids that it was Hulk Hogan taking over the mic for 20 minutes, calling everybody brother.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah, Macho Man coming on and, you know, oh yeah, dig it, you know, things like that.
Dig it.
Like there's actual interviews going on, and the interviews aren't that long anymore. Like the interviews literally last a minute or two at the most, and they get back to the action or whatever the storylines are that they want to push at that point. So it's a good thing. You know, some people love AEW. I'm not a fan. I'm just not. I'm more of a WWE guy.
AEW?
WWF. Yeah, AEW, All Elite Wrestling. It's like the biggest competitor to WWE right now, even though they're being dwarfed by them. But
I haven't heard of them at all, so they're not that big.
No, they are big. They have a contract. They're on TBS. They do pay-per-views, all kinds of things. TV. But I'm not a big fan. I'm really not a big fan. But anyway, moving on from there, the show that we were going to do before I kind of hijacked it with my beautiful sparkly belt here, you know, the show we were going to do.
When you sent me the picture of it, I thought it was a fantasy football, one of those. Because they sell
like a championship belt, yeah.
They sell them. They're not expensive. They're like $100, $150, which, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
For a tournament or whatever, a belt, that's not a big... If you're going to use it every year in, year out, and pass between friends and stuff, it would be well worth it.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. But I mean,
Look at you lowering your
this thing's
camera. You want to see
like 8 or 9 pounds. Like it's not the lightest thing in the world, and it's
Oh no, I
solid.
see you struggling under that thing.
If you can hear it, it's
Lightweight.
solid, and it's big. I laid it out on my car because it comes in a carrying case. It goes end to end from side to side of the car.
Okay.
Like it takes up the entire back seat, so it's a pretty good size. But again, I digress. The show today, what we're going to talk about, what we will be talking about here, is the college football playoff. A lot of controversy, a lot of people complaining, a lot of stuff going on. So we know who the top four are. We know who the four are that made the playoff, and we'll go in order on those. You know, you've got Michigan, who's
Okay.
number one, Washington, number two, Texas, number three, and of course, Alabama, number four. You had some teams that were left out. Who's just on the outside? You've got Florida State, boo-hoo, I hate the school, but we'll talk about that. Georgia, you know, two-time defending champion, won like 29 games in a row until they finally lost in the SEC title game to Bama. You've got Ohio State, and you've got Oregon out there also. So those are the 8 teams that I really looked at as being in the mix on this thing. And again, this thing goes a lot of different ways because there's people complaining mainly about Georgia and Florida State being left out. Florida State being the main one because they are undefeated and they won their conference championship. It's a Power 5 school, so it's kind of like, okay, how do you hold them out of there? You've got a lot of people complaining, why is Michigan number one? I mean, they're undefeated and they've been the most consistent team all season.
Yeah, I don't see how anybody can even say that. Like it was sincerely like
they had some good wins. Maybe not the strength of schedule that Bama has. Bama had the number 5 strength of schedule in the country, which is rare among teams usually in the national title picture. You've got Washington, who came over from the now disappearing Pac-12, but they won their title game. They have one loss. Then you also have Texas, who's also, you know, won the Big 12 just now. They've beaten Bama, so they can make their case.
And they lost
at
Oklahoma,
that point.
which to me, where was Oklahoma at when they won? Or when they lost them? Do you have any clue?
I'm not even sure, but I know that Oklahoma's number 12 right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, that was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So the controversy isn't the top 2. In my opinion, no. I didn't see very much controversy there. The controversy I see is when you look at Texas has a loss.
Yeah.
And they did not, and they pushed out Florida State without one. Like, I hate to say this. How do you keep Florida State out when you're putting teams that have losses in, when the only reason that you're doing it, as far as I could find, is because their quarterback is hurt?
Yeah. So let me get into that explanation a little bit.
Please, because
for anybody that doesn't,
those that don't know this, I'm not a huge NCAA fan. I love all sports and I love talking sports, and I can get a good judgment real quick.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, like, this seems pretty one-sided to me, like what should have happened. So, if you're hearing fresh quotes or fresh takes from me, don't beat me up too bad. I'm not that big of a fan of this stuff, but I do have an opinion. So,
but I mean, if you want to beat them up, put some comments in the comments section.
Nah, man,
we're more than happy to read them.
Be nice to me
and laugh at them a little bit if they're funny. Okay, so let's get into that. So the bylaws by the College Football Committee, because remember, this is a committee that puts this all together and decides who makes it into the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And before anybody complains as to why there's a committee, okay, before this used to be done by computer and everybody complained the computer wasn't looking at certain factors to be able to really make a better decision. Also,
and now that's all they complain about, the factors.
Yes. Now, also, let's remember that this is the NCAA. The NCAA, their most famous tournament is the college basketball tournament. Mm-hmm. College basketball tournament is exclusively selected by a committee.
Yeah.
So if you don't like it, everybody loves March Madness, and you've been pretty good about that.
64 teams?
Well, yeah, there's a difference. That's why this is going to 12 teams next year.
Yeah. And I honestly thought it was this year that it was going to that. I didn't realize it was next season because I know they had changed it. I didn't realize it hadn't gone to it yet. I think that is the smartest thing they could have done because there are 12 good teams in this in the NCAA right now that you can pair together and make quality pairings that can go. And you might get some iron horses out there that come out of below that have a good 4 or 5 game run or whatever and win it. to me, I think that it gives a lot of these smaller schools, like, okay, TCU was a joke last year, in my opinion. Like, I don't think that they should have been there.
But remember, the TCU beat Michigan to make it into the championship game. So there's some validity there.
There is. But in time, if you keep playing, your record will show who you are. In football, that's just how it is.
Bill Parcells. Yep.
It's not wrong, though. Like, I don't care what is going on between everything else and between the lines. If you're outside of the lines and looking at the score, the win-lose record is all they're going to see.
Your record says who you are. Yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, but Texas isn't that team. If there's a 13-0 team below them, which there are a bunch, I think that they should have been there. Yeah,
but you can't just look at 13-0 because then you'd have mid-major teams that aren't in a Power 5 conference that play an absolutely horrible weak schedule, and they would be making
strength of schedule too, I'm saying. But when you're looking at close strength of schedule, when it comes to that, like if you're looking at Florida State versus Texas, I don't see how you can say that Texas is better than Florida State, except for the quarterback. And you were going to talk about that, and I interrupted you, and I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. This is all a show, but part of it is the strength of schedule. And Florida State, unfortunately, their strength of schedule was like in the 60s, in the country. So it doesn't look great. Of course, it's not Florida State's fault that the ACC had some teams that were kind of down. Clemson plays people tough, but they didn't have the best year. Mm-hmm. Miami played everybody pretty tough this year, didn't have the best year. You can't really fault Florida State for that, but it does mean something. The biggest problem is that they lost their quarterback and then struggled against Louisville, who they should have beat the brakes off of.
If you were only worried about a few games, which is all this is, if there's only 4 teams, it's only a couple games, 2 games. So you're worried about 2 games being competitive and entertaining.
Yeah.
You can't put Florida State in there.
No, you can't.
I'm sorry. And it sucks. And it would break my heart as a Floridian to speak against this. Because even though I'm a U fan and I hate Florida State when it comes down to it, I still have some recognition for that because I'm a Floridian at heart. And like any Florida team that I see winning, I'm really, really, really I'm supportive of them. Like, I'm not a big UCF fan, even though I grew up right next to it. But I support the crap out of them when they're doing well, and I'll fight tooth and nail about them.
I hate Florida State, as I said before.
Yeah, but
I was on the phone. I was on the phone with some friends that are Florida State fans, and I was like, man, you guys got jobbed. You really got jobbed on this one. Like, I get the reasoning behind it, but still, that's a Power 5 team that did exactly what you said they were supposed to do to make it into the playoffs. It is what it is. Look, I get it. I get why Texas made it in. They won the Big 12. They beat Bama earlier in the year. Bama had the most, as maybe you would call it, the most impressive win of the year by beating Georgia. Mm-hmm. So that boosted both of those teams. Because now you say, okay, well, you got to let Bama in because they beat number 1 in the SEC, which is recognized as the toughest conference in college football, even though the SEC had a losing record outside of its conference this year. So I don't want to hear it this year. The ACC had a winning record against the SEC. So let's just leave that right there where it is. But that boosted Bama. And if you're going to say, okay, Bama deserves to be in, well, Texas beat Bama, so they deserve to be in too. So, yeah, it's a combination of things. Washington was my team that kind of, yeah, okay, I get it. They're number 2. But, that loss of theirs wasn't the world's greatest loss either. And it's not like they had the world's greatest strength of schedule. Who? The Washington Huskies.
They're 13-0.
Yeah. Oh, they're 13-0? Okay, I thought that they lost one. Okay, my fault.
Yeah. No. The 13-0 for Michigan, Washington, Florida State, and then to get the next one, you go all the way down to 18th as a Liberty, whatever that is, whoever that is.
Yeah, no, that's a school that just doesn't play anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
And if they had played anybody, they would have had an L on there somewhere. Okay, my
guaranteed.
fault. My fault. The Washington is undefeated, but Washington's only real big wins were against Oregon twice.
Okay,
I get it. Oregon's number 8. Yeah.
I keep going back to this.
Okay.
You're a Miami fan, so it means in turn you're a Tua fan.
Yeah.
Did you root for Tua when he was at
No.
Alabama? No. Are you familiar with the story of Tua and
very familiar with it? Mm-hmm.
we're robbing this young man of the ability to go out there and show who he is at this situation.
Which young man are we talking about?
The backup quarterback for Florida State. He's not a redshirt freshman. It's not like he's coming out of high school going into a national.
Mm-hmm.
Like the guy's been. He's a senior, isn't he? What's his name?
I don't think so. I think he's a junior, isn't he?
Tate
Wanamaker.
Tate Roadmaker. Tate Roadmaker. What is
that's what he's gonna be after his playing days are over. But yeah,
bro. But instead, like if you think about him, he is 6'4", 196, a junior.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guy's played. He's played.
But when he has played, they haven't been impressive, and that's one of the problems. Unfortunately, in college football, because not everybody can play everybody, style points do count. They matter.
Okay, next year, do you let them in?
Well, I mean, next year you don't have a choice. It's 12 teams.
Okay.
And they would be number 5. They're clearly in. Plus, I think that the way that it works next year is that especially the Power 5 get automatic bids if they win their conference.
Okay.
Which is the way that it should be.
I like
the biggest conferences, which next year, by the way, it will probably be a Power 4 unless the Pac-12 figures something out. So you'd have the 4 to go in there. And honestly, if it stays as a Power 4, you would have room to expand later on, and you could give the winners of those Power 4s all a bye if you wanted to get past the first round.
I like that idea too.
Yeah.
I one of the best things I think they did was adding that 7th team to the NFL and giving the first round bye. I think that right there makes it worth the fight to get to the first seed. And I think it would be good to reward them with that. I'm in.
Yeah, because previously in the NFL, as everybody knows, there were 2 byes per conference. And we all saw back then it was 16 games. By week 14, 15, or 16, teams were resting players all over the place. Now you don't really get that option too much because there's 1 bye per conference. And it's tough, man. Like I was looking at it today trying to figure out a magic number for the Dolphins to win the AFC. And there is no magic number because we have 5 games left. The magic number is basically 5. Unless Jacksonville loses and KC loses, then at that point we would have to win out. But when we beat Baltimore, that would be what would clinch it because Baltimore's right on our tail.
What you say? I'm not worried about Jacksonville. I think Trevor's out, right?
We'll find out. They're being very secretive about it. At first they said that it all depended on practice today, but now the coach says that they're going to take the decision to Sunday, and he doesn't want to talk about if Trevor practiced today or not, which they do have to put it out there, so we'll know tomorrow if he practiced or not. But they could just put him on the field and say limited participant too, just to kind of put a smoke screen on this thing.
True. I don't think he's going to play, in my opinion. And so I agree. They're going to have a hard time picking up their schedule because they're not an easy schedule to begin with. So I think it's going to come down to, are the Chiefs going to be the team to play? Which I'm not saying that Mahomes isn't. I just don't know if the rest of the team is around him the way it normally has to.
Well, the Chiefs and Buffalo have a massive game this weekend. For Buffalo, it's an elimination game. Clearly, you lose, you're done. You drop to 6 and 7, it's over. Season is done. You're not going forward than that. It's just not going to happen. For KC, if they win, they're still in the running for that bye. And let's remember that Patrick Mahomes has never had to play a playoff game away from home.
I know.
So it's a big deal. It's a big deal. The Dolphins, they control their fate right now. They can get it done, and they have Baltimore coming up later on. If they can beat Baltimore and if they win out, it's over. It's over. But we can't be in a tie with Kansas City because they have the tiebreaker. Yep. Baltimore wants to try and do the same thing. We have the tiebreaker over them right now because of conference schedule. That's the only reason. Yeah, we do have to beat them because if we lose to them, it doesn't matter if we have that second one. The primary is the head-to-head. So that would leave us out of the bye, but still in the playoffs, obviously. But, for the confidence of the team, you want to see them go forward. The advantage there, and I know we're going off topic right now, but the advantage there is that the week before Baltimore plays us, guess who they play?
Who?
They play San Francisco at San Francisco.
Ooh, that's going to be a rough game.
Baltimore is going to be black and blue still by the time they get to play Miami.
They're a bruising team, yeah.
Yeah. I was looking this up the other day, And Vince, you'll probably like this stat real big right now. Teams that play San Francisco over the past 2 years and have a game without a bye after that are winning like 30% of their games.
Oh wow!
Because the physicality in those games is off the charts. Is
No
off the charts.
kidding.
Of course, you're talking about Baltimore, who plays in the AFC North, who is used to physicality, but it's still not going to be easy. And then you have to go up against a team that just wants to run all over the place. And when I say run, I mean just speed everywhere. That's not easy to flip and have to handle. It's really not.
Yeah, Jaguars.
And then of course you have
another one. They're going to go 8-5, and yeah.
It's going to be an interesting weekend. There's some big games out there. But anyway, let's get back to the college football playoff. So
I'm supposed to have ADD, not you, okay?
In my opinion, no, I have he talked too much is what it is. So in my opinion, Michigan is exactly where they need to be. I think it's a raw deal for them to have to play Alabama in the first round. I know that those Michigan players were looking forward to hearing Florida State because they were going to go and dump truck them.
And
it would have been an ugly game, but that's again probably the reason why this was all done.
100%. I don't see any other way around it. Next year, when there's 12 teams, they would have been in. All the people that should have been in would be in.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have this conversation. We don't have this podcast next year.
Well, hopefully we still have the podcast, just not this episode.
Shoot, I love this podcast. It's fun. If you can't tell, I'm passionate about sports. I love talking about it, and I can't wait to see what happens this weekend. Like NFL is gonna be huge. Oh, excuse me. It's gonna be fun, man. I can't wait.
Yeah, it'll definitely be fun. The other team that's complaining is Georgia, for the most part. Georgia, and I mean it's a pretty valid claim, even though I'm going to say why it's not.
It's not.
Georgia, 2-time defending champion, 29 wins in a row, and they lost in their conference championship. Okay, I get it, but you're not a conference champion. They lost to Bama.
Oh, there it is.
Exactly.
And that's why it's not a valid argument.
Well, not just that, but
you can't beat the team.
Their strength of schedule was way down from where it should have been. Yeah, Bama did it right.
You can't be the team if you didn't beat them.
That's right. Listen to Ric Flair. Woo! To be the man, you got to beat the man.
Absolutely. Man, I've got some good ones today. Jeez.
Yeah, yeah.
Got some great call-outs today, man.
Yeah, you have. So, I mean, that's the whole argument with me with Georgia, is I feel like Georgia took a little bit for granted, that they've been beating everybody and they're in the SEC and all these things. And Bama scheduled and put up a tough schedule. In conference, out of conference, number 5 schedule. And right now, Nick Saban is smiling because he knows that who they scheduled ultimately got them into the playoff. So it's a good thing. I don't like this whole thing of, how can you have the playoff without the Godfather, Nick Saban? You know what? If you don't deserve to be there, you don't deserve to be there, and that's what it is.
No. And I've been through what they're feeling, though, because to think about, like, some really serious games back in the day without, like, Steve Spurrier. Like, he's a lot of things, but that guy was an amazing coach in, like, the big games. And you want to see him throw,
on top of that.
Yeah, you want to see him throw his visor and get out there. Who's the guy with the Indiana Hoosiers back in the day? Bobby Knight. You wanted to watch him play because, regardless if you're a fan, you're like, what is this idiot going to do? I want to see him go crazy and get all red faced and and that's what I feel like some of these, when you start losing some of the coaches, they lose the nostalgia of what they feel like the championship should feel like. And then they don't want to watch anymore. Like, I get it, but
it's good TV.
It's great. It's great TV and it's great entertainment, but it's not great football to put a team in. Like, why don't we put in Prime then? If you want to see the most entertaining game possible with the most entertaining coach possible, let's put Prime in there.
Okay, well, let me throw a twist at you right now. In my opinion,
he sucks.
If Prime was the coach of Florida State, same record, same circumstances, everything, they get in the playoff.
Yeah.
But you know why?
It was a story.
Yes, it's good TV.
He
brings in eyeballs. He brings in ratings.
Absolutely.
They would have definitely put them in. Yeah.
Yes. And
so Florida State, you caught a raw deal. I don't have pity for you, but you caught a raw deal, and it's what it is. And why do I not have pity for them? Well, first off, Hurricane fan, 100%. We hate Florida State. It's the way it is. And also, this has happened before, where FSU and Miami had the exact same record, Miami beat FSU at that point. FSU was put into the national championship game, and Oklahoma beat the brakes off of you, where we should have been in there, and we would have had number 6 instead of number 5. So no pity for you, because you didn't give us any pity when that happened.
Nope. I love it, man.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be an entertaining playoff. I feel like the 4 teams that are in there, if I had to pick a weakest one, I'd probably say Washington.
Okay.
Michigan had to play multiple games without their head coach, and they're still undefeated. And they did it with some tough circumstances. Let's not pretend the Penn State and Ohio State are the world beaters out there right now, but they're pretty good teams. And Michigan went in and handled both of them. They did their job.
Okay.
Bama
So
also
who do you
had
see
some
winning?
tough teams. Oh, man, it's a hard one. Okay, so let's go round by round. Okay, so first off, let's start with the middle teams. So we've got Washington against Texas. Who you got? Because I'm going to tell you right now.
I think Texas is going to go for it.
Yeah. So we're on the same page there.
They're a dirty, grimy team. I think they're going to go out there and take over Washington. Washington's a great team, and there's nothing against them. I just think that Texas is going to do it.
Yep. I think Texas is more battle hardened.
Yeah.
They're ready to do it. They beat Bama. So, I mean, their strength of schedule speaks for itself. I get the Washington's undefeated, but you're playing in the Pac-12 with a bunch of teams that are ready to jump ship because they already did. The Pac-12 is turning into the Pac-2 next year unless they figure something out. And the strength of schedule really was not there. Do they have a star quarterback? Absolutely. They've got a lot of pieces that you want to see and you want to get in there, but I do have Texas winning that matchup. So the next matchup, and the toughest one, would be Michigan, Alabama. Some people are saying that this is the de facto national championship.
I agree.
So who do you got?
I think Alabama's going to go. I think Alabama's going to go all the way to the end. Honestly, I think they're going to win this year. And here's why I say it.
Okay.
They've been there before. They've been at this level. They have the coach. They have the team. They're not coming off of any major struggles right now. Like, they are a strong team at the right time. If we look at the way championship teams have come in, even in the NFL, if you get hot at the right time with a playoff situation, that's when you win.
Yep.
What was it? 2010, 11, whatever it is, that the Giants they were the 6th seed or whatever and won the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah, won the whole thing.
They got hot at the right time.
And beat an undefeated Patriots team. Yeah.
Yes. I think Alabama is that hot team right now. I think that they are feeling disrespected by saying that they shouldn't be there, and they're going to go, and they're the kind of team, and the coach is the kind of coach that they're going to go in there and show people why they're supposed to be there and why they should have been in that show.
Well, and to Bama's credit, their quarterback, it's night and day from earlier on in the season.
Yeah,
Jalen Milroe is playing very good football right now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, he should be a Heisman candidate. No, he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be. But the guy's playing very good football. He showed it in the SEC title game. I mean, that throw to win the game at the very end, that was a good throw. It's not this amazing play that everybody's making it out to be, but it was a heck of a throw. You threw the game into an upset right there, and you took it home. But that being said, I feel like Harbaugh has learned a lot of lessons, and that team is just, I mean, if you want to talk about smash mouth, that team is the definition of smash mouth right now with Michigan, because that's how they win their games. Keep in mind, against Penn State, their quarterback wasn't 100%. You know what Michigan did against Penn State? They threw the ball one time. One time. And literally bludgeoned Penn State into the win. It was they knew the run was coming, and you couldn't stop it. You couldn't stop it. They have a massive offensive line. If all 5 of those guys don't go to the NFL, what are you doing? I mean, what are you doing?
Here's the thing, though. Let's look at. I have a really I don't like looking at full yearly stats. I like looking at the last 5 to 8 games, depending on what you're doing. Here's the fast 5 games that Alabama's played.
Okay.
And I'll tell you how many points they scored. Not if they won or lost, just how many points they scored.
Yep.
42, 49, 66, 27, and 27. In my opinion, that is a winning team.
But you have to look at the competition, too.
Okay,
Like who'd they
LSU,
play?
Western Kentucky, Chattanooga, which were all
Okay.
three of the big blowout games, as they're
Yeah.
supposed to be. Honestly, LSU wasn't. They weren't that. They were LSU's 13 now. They were closer back then. I forget where they were, but yeah, they were definitely closer. But still, 42-28. That's
Hmm.
crazy.
Yeah.
Then going down to Auburn, they
Which
struggled against Auburn.
which yeah, and Auburn throw the record books out. Throw the record
Yeah,
books out. Rivalry game. You
absolutely.
never know what's going to happen in the Egg Bowl. You never know.
They struggled, but they won 27-24.
Yep.
And then they beat Georgia
Yep.
27-24. Like they're out there grinding. And I'm not saying that Michigan isn't a great team, by no means. They are an amazing football team. They've had adversity and they're coming through. They deserve to win just as much as Alabama does. And I think they have every opportunity to win as much as everything. But in my play, like you asked me why I feel like when I call the Heat is because that's how I feel. I feel that that's the team to win, and I think that Alabama is primed for it.
Okay. Yeah, all very good points. All very good points. If anybody's looking up Michigan's last wins, remember that 3 games they didn't have their head coach. They still pulled it out. They still won the whole thing. They went in and they won the Big Ten title also, which the Big Ten doesn't make sense because there's more than 10 teams, but whatever. It's the
What
name of a
was their
conference.
last? I'm
Oh,
interested.
they played some serious teams. They played some
41,
serious teams.
41 points to Purdue, which they
Yep.
should.
Mm-hmm.
24 points to Penn State, which that's close.
Yeah.
31 points against Maryland, which they were not ranked. That's not
No,
a good
but
look.
Maryland is a team that's up and coming. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
30-24 against Ohio State. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then 26-0 Iowa. I'm okay with that. Those last 2 wins, I'm in.
And by the way, Iowa was in the Big Ten title game, and Iowa may have the best defense in college football. And they hung 24 on them.
26, yeah.
Oh, 26, yeah. If you haven't seen Iowa play, catch them in a bowl game. That defense is nasty.
I'm gonna take a look at it, yeah.
At every level. They if you were to take that defense and put them in Bama uniforms or Georgia uniforms, you wouldn't know the difference. That's how good that defense is. But yeah, I mean, there are some things in there, so even though I think the Michigan is going to pull it out, there's some doubt in my mind. There really, really is, because again, we haven't seen them do it. We've seen Saban do it, and we've seen him do it with all kinds of different players. Yep. Milroe is rounding out to be a very good quarterback. It all depends. This is going to be really this title. If they win the title, or just even in the game, Bama and Michigan, it's going to come down to the coaches.
I agree.
It's going to come down to the coaches. This is going to be who's playing checkers and who's playing chess. And it's going to come down to that. And when you look at that, how can you really go against Saban?
I can't. That's what I'm telling you. That's where I'm choosing out of. Like,
yeah,
the experience of being there.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge, and to me, it's going to speak volumes in leadership of your team. So
I still see Michigan winning it. I see Michigan beating Alabama and then moving on and beating Texas, because as we both said, we both believe that Texas is going to beat Washington.
Yep.
Just Texas, their style really just feeds into what Michigan likes to do on defense. And I feel like they'll be able to shut them down. If somehow Washington pulls it out, we're going to be talking about that, because that would be one heck of a game if they pull it out. And unfortunately, Washington, I feel like, would turn into a TCU from last time.
I think so.
Where they step into the title game and it's just they're completely overwhelmed.
Right.
But
that was sad to watch last year.
There's a reason that these games get played, and they're not just done on paper, because as the movie says, any given Sunday, or in these playoffs, any given whatever day they're playing.
Right.
But I feel like it's going to be a really good playoff. Next year, I'm really looking forward to it. 12 teams in the playoffs. Yeah, somebody's going to complain. Number 13 is going to complain they didn't get in. Number 14 is going to complain.
Whatever.
But I feel like it'll be a much more justified field, and we'll be very clear on what's going on. And the national championship is going to be legit.
All right, so all the way down to 12th is Oklahoma. Then we have LSU, Arizona, and Notre Dame. And all 3 of them are 9-win teams.
Yeah.
None of them can complain about not being in when all the teams above them have 10+ wins.
Yep.
I think like if you're looking at how well it'll work next season, I think it's going to work amazingly.
Oh, I think so too. I'll just be
And
interested.
Michigan would play Oklahoma.
It'll be interesting to see when they start the games, the playoff games, because right now we're used to conference games are over. Everybody, the conference champions are announced, and they don't play for almost a month.
Yeah.
So to
to
fit this in, are you going to back up the national championship game, or are you just going to basically continue playing all the way through? It's going to be interesting to see.
I don't think they can with the kids and their bodies, and I don't think they can continue to play. They have to give them some time.
Yeah, you got to do something. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
You got to do something. But next year with the 12 team, like we're talking about, I see those conference championships being a de facto play-in game for the playoffs. It's basically your first round of the playoffs. You win your title, you're in. So it'll be a lot of fun to watch, and I feel like it's going to put a lot more attention on those conference championship games, even more attention than they get now, because there's going to be even more stakes behind these things.
Cool.
Yeah. So, all right. Thanks everybody for joining us. If you have an opinion, anything you think that we said is wrong, let us know in the comments section. Give us a little shout out on there, and maybe it'll make some more content for the future. But as always, that is Dolph. The champ is here. I am MJ, and we will see you guys next time.
Woo!
See you next time. That's the show today. What are you waiting for? Like and subscribe below, and we'll see you next time.